Okay, hey everyone. AI and emotional intelligence in Canadian food safety. I'm Deanna Zenger. I'm the National Project Manager for Food Processing Skills Canada. Many of you in this room may already know us because of the funded programs that we have, but we're also leaders in labor market information studies, do a lot of training, and do a lot of work globally as well. Lately, we have gotten into some interesting content matter. When we first did a project years ago that introduced emotional intelligence, or EI, I was the one that led that project. And the project teamed up with Trent University. And I'm not like a soft person. I'm not the grandma that makes cookies. I'm the grandma that, let's get on the ATV, let's go. So optimism and happiness was not in my playbook. So I decided to teach those courses. And what I discovered, I was just absolutely gobsmacked at. When you start teaching people, letting them know about themselves, their reactions to things, the whole world changes. The whole world changes in production. The whole world changes in QA. The whole world changes in the organization. So today, we're going to couple that with AI, which really scares people. But today I hope that we're going to make it a little bit less scary. So my job today is not to sell it to you and not to scare you off. But hopefully you can understand it a little bit better. And I want you to go home today and play with it. And I'm going to give you the tools to play with it. So let's go. So there's two truths about AI and food safety. So here's the tension that we're going to hold on to today. It's real and it works. Someone that you may recognize, Frankie Annis, who ran food safety at Walmart and at FDA, said that the AI shift is operational now. It's not theoretical. It hasn't been theoretical for quite some time. Truth two, the same technology, the very same technology dropped on a team without care. We heard about people and how important people were. But dropped on a team without care can quietly chip away that keeps the very thing that keeps our food safe, it chips away at them, and that's our people. Both can be true at once. If you only hear the first, you're going to overtrust it. And we see a lot of that happening today. If you only hear the second, you'll miss the opportunity. And we're going to hold on to both. So what we're going to cover today. A quick map of where we're going. We'll start with the promise of what AI can already do. Then the human side, emotional intelligence, psychological safety, which is really the heart of this. But then the formula that actually works in practice, and that's where we get to do some stuff together. Then 3 concrete things that you can take back to your plant on Monday. Because that's what I like to do when we have a time to talk together like this. I like something that you can take away right now, that you can implement tomorrow if you feel like it, or Monday. Okay, and then we're going to talk about guardrails, because there are some. And those are the things that are going to keep us safe. So you're going to leave with handouts. We were going to leave with handouts, but there's quite a few of you. So my card is going to be passed around the table. Take a picture of it, because you've got some really cool exercises to do when you go back to work. You've got some templates that you can use. And I built for you 5 prompts in AI that you can play with and see what the outcomes are. So the promise, let's start with the good news. And it's generally good news. The first one's the promise. By the way, I don't walk around the stage because I am really clumsy, and I will tend to do a face plant right on the stage. So I'm just going to stay here. Okay? So from reactive to predictive. For decades, food safety has run on lagging predictions. Someone gets sick, we trace it back, we recall, right? We respond after the harm. AI changes that calculus, totally. A well-built platform can pull in supply chain data, environmental sensors, pathogen surveillance all at once, and flag a problem before there's an outbreak. That's the shift from detection to prediction. And it's the single most important part of that promise today. I'll let it to Frank to say it in his own register. That's Frank Yanis. He's not a hype kind of guy. He's the person, if you don't know, who operationalized the Food Safety Modernization Act and its traceability role. When he says the early movers will set the compliance baseline, what he means is in 3 to 5 years, the companies moving now won't be measured against today's standard. They will be the standard. And anyone that's not there is going to be left behind. Those are the stakes that we're living in right now. So what AI can already do, and by the way, I don't tend to read every word that's on the screen, so you guys are there, it keeps you off your cell phones. So there's some things that you can read on the screen. So concretely, what can it do today? 4 things worth knowing. It can prioritize incoming shipments to inspect, so your sampling hits the risky loads. It can read thousands of unstructured incident reports. This is the one I really like. It can read thousands of unstructured incident reports and surface a weak signal in near real time. That saves a lot of work. It can predict whether a pathogen has adapted to a specific food. And again, it's pulling in information from all over the world when it does this. Things that would take us researching forever and reading up on everything. It can predict whether, I said that. And the one closest to your floor, it can turn dense SOPs and HACCP records into plain language, step-by-step help for people doing the work, and keep that last one in mind because we're going to come back to it. So 5 countries are already leading. This isn't speculative. Okay, this is the research that I did in preparation for today. The FAO's flagship 2025 report reviewed over 140 scientific papers and spotlighted 5 countries currently doing this operationally. The US FDA uses machine learning to prioritize import sampling, has for years. Ireland detects weak signals of future risk. Italy uses genomic models on pathogens. And the UK text mines incident reports. Singapore monitors global alerts in multiple languages. And notice who's not on this list. We'll get to that next. So here is where Canada sits. Business AI adoption doubled in a year, from 6% to just over 12%, and that's great. That's real momentum, and we're celebrating. But it still puts us behind the EU and the OECD. Both around 20%. They're both around 20%. The honest label for Canada right now is a fast follower and not a leader. And that position is a little new to us. And the bottleneck, this is the key insight from government. The bottleneck isn't invention, it's adaptation. We have great tools and proven Canadian pilots. The gap is the adoption of these tools. So strong investment, strong reputation and thin investment. There's a paradox here. Canada has a genuinely strong food safety reputation and great institution, thanks to a lot of people in this room. We have enjoyed that title for many, many years. But you know what I found out doing this report? We're not number 1 anymore. And for years, I always held up that banner that Canada was number 1 in the world in food safety, and we're not anymore. But on food tech investment, we punched well below our weight. $1.6 billion over 6 years, against nearly 9 in the UK, and a whopping $86 billion in the US. And we're not chosen as a case study in that flagship FAO report. That's not an accusation that we're doing nothing. The CFI runs an AI lab. It's a wake-up call. We're not yet a recognized leader in this field, and the opportunity is really, it's wide open. Now comes the human side, and that was such a wonderful lead-in that we just had. Because this is where the rubber hits the road, and it truly does. And it's very controversial right now, that tug of war between AI and the human side. So now we're going to turn to the part that decides whether any of this works. It's a double-edged sword. Yeah, the very same tool can cut both ways. It can erode psychological safety, and you're going to hear me talk about psychological safety today because it's pretty much a buzzword. We never thought about it 5 years ago, psychological safety, but we do now. And eroding that psychological safety, and I'll show you how it's going to happen, actually creates depression in employees. And that's something in our world, in our food safety world, that is a really big concern. It can be a powerful equalizer, especially for neurodiverse workers, and it can lift people's confidence. So what determines what edge you get? It's not the software. The leadership around it. It's the leadership that's around that software. And it's every human that's implementing it. It's every human that controls it, because we do control the AI. It doesn't control us. It follows our commands. But it's as good as the person that's working with it. So it can both, it's a double-edged sword. It can be awesome, and it can be really destructive. So psychological safety, it's the #1 predictor. Let's define that key term, because it's fairly new to most people. So from Amy Edmondson at Harvard, it's a shared belief that it's safe to take an interpersonal risk, to speak up, to admit a mistake, raise a concern without fear and without blame. Google's famous Project Aristotle found it was the #1 predictor of team effectiveness. And that goes back to what we're talking about, working with our team. Now translate that into a plan. If your people fear blame, then they underreport near misses. They underreport the contamination, and they underreport the deviations. The data you most need is exactly the data that fear suppresses. The concept is the spine. This concept is the spine of everything that follows. So what happens when AI erodes confidence? Here's the caution and the evidence behind it. There's a 2025 study published in Nature's Social Sciences Journal, a rigorous 3-year, 3-wave study of 381 employees. They found AI adoption significantly lowered psychological safety, which in turn increased depression. There are 3 mechanisms: job insecurity and identity threat, decision authority shifting to an algorithm instead of a person, cuts people's voice, and constant uncertainty from opaque and changing tools. And there are a plethora of changing tools right now. And there's the haunting detail, okay? We had a discussion about this over lunch. When a human errs, okay, teams rally around them, right? Because it's a learning experience. When AI errs, the response is expanding, directionless doubt. Ethical leadership was the buffer that softened all of this. Because who are you going to blame, AI? Who controls AI? Not Claude. We control AI. So when the algorithm makes a mistake, it sets off this tidal wave of different emotions that we're not used to experiencing. The trust in AI fails in 2 opposite ways, and you need to watch for them both. Okay, automation bias is over-trusting, taking AI's word and overlooking its errors. I don't know if any of you have played with AI. AI tells you exactly what you want to know, doesn't it? Exactly what you want to know. I'm wonderful in AI. I am so good. Until I encountered some errors this past week, and they were really scary. And you know what? I just kind of push that button, and like 30 seconds later, it's, whoa, you got that answer. Algorithm aversion is the opposite. Throwing out good AI advice in favor of your own gut, especially as the stakes rise. Now, who would have a tendency of doing that? I could go into generational stuff right now, but we know now from research that people that are slightly older, like moi, are scared of AI. We have AI aversion. Whereas younger people, like most of you in this audience, think it's the coolest thing ever. Right? So there's caveats in both of those. The research shows a Dunning-Kruger pattern. You guys can look that up if you're not sure what it is. People with the least AI experience are a bit averse. Overtrust peaks at low to moderate knowledge, then evens out among real experts. I'm not sure who holds that real expert title these days, but for your plant, both are life risks. A rushed novice, overtrusting and alert, and a veteran inspector waving off one. So stronger together. Emotional intelligence. I don't like that phrase. It kind of makes you feel like someone either has emotional intelligence or not. It truly is me work, and that's how I refer to it as. And we constantly learn and we constantly grow. And we had, for those of you that are familiar with FPSC, we had the skills training across Canada. We had it for the jobs, the frontline, and then frontline said supervisors need it, and then supervisors were great. Well, you know what happened? People started talking to each other. For real. People in all parts of the organization started talking to each other. People on the line, people in warehousing, the front office, and then they started talking to their supervisors. That's actually how we got the supervisors to take the program, because they were being asked questions and they didn't have the answers. So they had to take the program so they know what to talk about. But the biggest part of that program, the most popular part, see, I'm going to start to wobble if I walk, was the emotional intelligence. It was by far the most popular courses that they took. And we have the statistics to prove that. And it transcended just in increasing their well-being at work, because all of a sudden they started feeling better about coming to work. That's that psychological safety thing. To actually improve situations in their home and their personal lives, because they started learning about me and my reactions, speaking about the person that took it, their reactions and how they interacted with people. Do not discount that. You want to talk about food safety culture? Food safety culture is right here. It's not anything up on a wall. It's not any policy that you've written. Your people either feel psychologically safe to admit mistakes, to ask questions, to do all the things that we just learned, or they don't. And in the food safety world, that's critical. It can also lift people up. Now flip the blade. The same technology lifts people. In a UK government pilot of 1,000 co-pilot licenses, neurodiverse workers were 25% more satisfied with the AI assistant than their neurotypical colleagues, and more likely to recommend it. In a separate study, 91% of disabled and neurodivergent employees called it a helpful assistive technology. 85% said it makes the workplace more inclusive, and 76% that it helps them thrive. I was fortunate enough to be asked to speak to the International Association for Food Protection recently, and the entire subject matter was neurodiverse individuals and food safety. Actually, it was an entire food economy, but food safety was the subject matter. And the very qualities that neurodiverse individuals have, and for those of you that aren't aware of neurodivergence, ADHD, anyone on the autism spectrum, dyslexia, and there's countless others, many of whom are already in your workplace. But the wonderful characteristics of people that are neurodiverse are exactly what we're looking for in the food economy, especially in food safety. The attention to detail, noticing different patterns. I could go on and on. But those are pretty incredible people to have on your team. So AI analytics can strip the human bias out of performance reviews, making them fairer. That's the equalizer story, and it's measured. It's not wistful. Let's stay on this because it matters. FPSC, through the Foodability Program, also has We started calling it a disability awareness project, but it really isn't. It's an ability-focused workforce strategy. And I'm particularly interested in this audience because of what the research has really uncovered. They're exceptionally well suited to the work that we all do. Detail focus, pattern recognition, consistency, the consistency demanding work that AI has, to see the different patterns that even AI can't recognize. That's the thing that's so cool. The different thinkers can see things that even AI can't recognize. And in food safety, that's invaluable. Generative AI is brilliant at exactly the things that have historically been the hardest. Organizing information, managing communication, reducing cognitive load. Those are things AI is great at. Let them do that. It can convert a dense SOP into plain steps. It can read a HACCP record aloud, or let someone privately rehearse a difficult conversation. If it's well used, AI can be the equalizer. So the tools that AI bring can go far beyond just the investigative and the reporting. It can also manage a lot of things we don't like. You know what the number one thing people use AI for? Rewriting emails. Like all of a sudden we don't know how to write an email, right? It takes out all those nice private nuances, and I know when you've sent me an AI-generated email, because you don't write that way. You don't even talk like that, right? But it does have its purpose, right? Sending something to the boss. Sounds a little bit more professional. Also, one other thing I'm going to mention, the same tools can entrench bias, and they work far better in English than other languages. And as a growing multicultural country, this is an important thing to know because it is not managed that. Okay, so keep that design in mind. Emotional intelligence really is what's going to decide the outcome. So if technology can cut either way, what's the deciding factor? Emotional intelligence in leadership. And all of you in your roles are people leaders, aren't you? So when I say leadership, I mean anyone that's in a role that's leading people. Every credible source converges here. In that depression study, I found that just incredible, what AI is doing to people's heads in the workplace. So in that depression study, ethical leadership was the buffer. I stepped in. The behaviors are concrete and teachable. Be transparent about what AI does and why. Involve your people in AI decisions. Make it about communicating with each other. Frame AI errors, because there will be, as learning opportunities, not blame. And keep the decisions explainable and humanly accountable. Protect data privacy. This is something that we are absolutely the weakest at. So I will be candid. Part of today was I had created a whole bunch of code that we were going to put into a typical QA situation, and we were going to run it and show you what it looks like. We couldn't do that. I couldn't bring my laptop in, and because of privacy issues, I couldn't give the fine gentleman at the back of the room access to my Claude. So privacy issues are really important. So if any of you want to start tinkering, and I'm going to give you worksheets to take home or email to you to tinker, do not tinker with it on your laptop in your workplace, okay? And I'm going to make that loud and clear. Protect data privacy, and one huge, explicitly separate, the AI flagged an issue from, and you're in trouble. Okay, if AI does something wrong, then AI did something wrong, and it's going to err. But it's up to us better thinkers to take a look and to see what happened. So communicating that the AI, if something happens in AI and that's a learning issue, okay, communicating that very fact, it's what saves it from being, it goes from a monitoring tool to being something that's feared. And if someone fears something, Any of you guys are parents in the room? What happens when your kid is scared of something? They don't tell you. That's what it turns into. Go back to what I said about psychological safety. This is rearing its ugly head because of how AI is being used. The biggest changing factor in the next 5 years in our industry are people. In every role, from the top all the way down to people that are our foundation level workers. People will be the most important caveat and the most important transition for change in our industry in the next 5 years. So the formula that works. Talked a little bit about the promise and a little bit about the peril. So how do you get the upside without getting the downside? Human in the loop plus EI plus guardrails. So you don't have to write this down because it's going to be in, like, if there should be cards all over the place. Email me for the handouts because we weren't able to do them. So I have various exercises for you. Okay, and this is one of them. Human in the loop plus emotional intelligence plus guardrails. So AI augments judgment. It never makes food safety critical calls. It never makes food safety critical calls. Emotional intelligence leaders decide whether AI builds trust or it destroys it. So AI in the hands of anyone in the organization that's going to implement AI or help other team members work with AI wields a tremendous amount of power. And that's going to require a little bit of self-reflection here because understanding AI, anyone who knows me, these 4 words never cross my lips. I didn't know that. I say, I didn't know that every single day. And I think I'm pretty good at this stuff. But it's just so vast, and there's so much there. And guardrails. Plain language policy, oversight, the right to override, keep it safe. Because it is not safe. So what actually is AI? What does AI run on? Don't you hate when people ask you questions and ask you to put your hand up and do all that kind of stuff? AI runs on commands. Who gives it the command? It doesn't make it up, although sometimes, that word hallucination. I just think that's so cool. My computer is hallucinating. Just right out of the 60s. But it does. It comes up with the weirdest stuff. But at the end of the day, ultimately, we give it the commands. So we need to have guardrails. AI should augment, never replace people. And that's the whole game, isn't it? I know a lot of people with technology and AI are fearful that it's going to take their job. It's quite the opposite. There was a study just done at IKEA, system-wide, through all the countries. They have a really robust AI system. Not one person was laid off. What it did do, it identified areas that it could be really helpful and took all those people that AI actually did replace what they were doing to make it faster, better, and put them in customer service. So where are they making the most amount of money? It's customer service. Where do companies benefit the most in food safety? From safe food. Preventing costly recalls. Being able to predict things in the future to help them sidestep it, not find out something after it's happened. So important is to build a team that speaks up. This goes back to the emotional intelligence part. The two are together. You cannot take one away from the other, or else that's just a disaster. So building a team that speaks up. Edmondson from Harvard gives leaders 3 simple moves to build a psychological safety this all depends on. Frame the work as a learning problem, not an execution problem. There's a lot of learning to do here. Acknowledge your own fallibility. I do that every single day with us. I did not know that. But I do now, right? You just learn something new every day. Say it out loud that you don't have all the answers. Because we don't. In an AI context, this is doubly important because technology constantly tempts people into silence. Doesn't it? Why argue with 94% confidence? Your job as a leader is to make speaking up the easy and expected thing. And our food safety depends on it. The InfoSystem MIT data backs us. 83% of leaders say psychological safety has a measurable impact on the success of their AI initiatives. Yet only 39% rate their own as high. Why would that be? So 3 things you can do. I've got 3 concrete things that you can take back to your plant. Because I think that's the purpose that we all get together, right? It's not about just note-takings or taking pictures of slides. It's something you can take back and do. 2 of them are live exercises that you can run with your own team. And that's the practical heart of the day. So AI as a food safety co-pilot. This is the first one. The idea is to use an assistant like Claude or ChatGPT. Are you guys using Claude or ChatGPT? Yeah, they're both really different, right? They have very distinct differences on both of them. The key phrase is on the side. First draft and checklist, never the final decision. So I've created a stress test, CPP deviation. I can't go into it for the reasons I said, but I created a very long command. Now, I did this in Claude, but I tested it. It works in Chat. And so if you are to do this, and I really want you to, I would suggest not doing it in your workplace environment. Okay, now you can run Claude for free to do this, or you can run this in Chat. But do it and see. Okay, the difference between the 2 programs, too, I think is really cool, because one tells you what it's thinking, right? You can even stop it from telling you that. But you can do it, you can watch how it's thinking and what kind of answers it's going to come up with. You can also, and try to remember this one, you can run Claude in what they call incognito. There's a cool little icon up at the top. So what happens when you're running Claude in incognito? It doesn't remember what you're asking in your company's server. Okay, but again, I think that you guys should be doing this at home if you're playing around with it. If you want to do that first and then because you're going to have the exercises, and do that and bring it to someone in your organization, that would be a really cool training exercise. So these are the things that you look for in a good response, and what would be red flags? Because there's both. So next we get to the human override. Application 2 is basically a mirror image, and honestly, it's probably my favorite. It's the moment a human makes the decision to override AI. And it lets you try it out, because it's a scary thing. Oh my God, I'm going to override AI, especially when it's 94% accurate. But you have to. It's where emotional intelligence and experience trump a confident algorithm. And it proves viscerally why people remain essential. So the sheet that I'm going to send you home with is the Friday afternoon dairy call. So I'm just going to quickly tell you the scenario, because again, it comes with prompts and everything. The AR monitoring system flags 3 brief temporary dips on line 3's pasteurizer overnight, and recommends, with 94% confidence, releasing the held product because it predicts a negligible risk. What do you do? It's Friday afternoon. It doesn't tell you much about, I don't give you anything about telling AI about the data sensor, so it's got no information about this data sensor. So what should the EI-informed human do? And if you're working in a team of people, this is a fun exercise to do. And don't give them a result. Talk about it. See what people would do. We tried this, and it's really interesting to hear the comments, but it was a really good exchange of ideas and thoughts and so on. Again, you're doing this in a test environment, but these are real-time situations that you may find yourself in if you don't already, in the coming time. So I've given you these sheets and the commands and everything so you could play with it and see what it feels like. So those are the different scenarios there. So AI is an accommodation, or is it a workplace adjustment? So AI, the application 3 is quieter, but it's just as powerful. You treat AI as a standard accommodation. If you don't know what the word accommodation means, it's a legally legislated term under the disability law in Canada. In a nutshell, it means providing assistance, whether it's in a practice, whether it's in a product, or a change of environment for someone that requires it. Okay? AI assistive tools can really assist people in your workplace. And through the Foodability Project, we really want to create a more universal workspace where people may have a need. I think she's gone. Mentioned that you may need to give one person, you may need to give a person instruction once. Another person may need it 3 times. Another person may need it 5 times. There could be a reason behind that. They may or may not let you know. And really, it's none of your business as long as they finally get the instruction. But in there, as we're learning, there are functional limitations in all of us in the workplace. So AI-assisted tools are huge. They're a huge benefit in the workplace when we make them available to everybody, because people don't necessarily have to tell you that they need a little help or need a little extra guidance or they need a little extra instructions in a certain way, right? Three of the things that we are being implemented in some really progressive companies that we're working with Foodability is to allow the AI assistive tools without approval, make them available to everyone, to offer multiple formats, and to design for the curb cut effect. So does anyone know what the curb cut effect is? Okay. So if you notice there's a street and people are walking on it, see the part of the sidewalk, that's the best picture I could find, that the curb is cut out. This is actually an innovation for people in wheelchairs. That's how it was designed. It's called a curb cut. It's just that when we started implementing them in urban areas, everybody started using them. Women with strollers, people with grocery carts, people lugging the luggage with the wheelies. Everyone started using the curb cut. So what did that tell us? We designed something for a specific purpose, but when we made it universal, everyone benefited. So it actually has a term, it's called a curb cut effect. So the prompt cards are handouts. I'm not sure, I don't see any business cards on the table. You have them? Okay, take a picture of them. Because what I have done is I've taken the first 2, okay? I've also created, like I said, 5 prompts for QA to play with. They give you in different situations, and I can kind of read those out to you. I've got a couple of samples of them when I'm still here that we can go over. But there are things that you can practice and take away with you. So number 5 is guardrails. We promised that we talk about that, and I'll do it quickly because my timer's running. Now the caution half gets really practical. And these are guardrails, and I hope that you truly do remember them because they're important in any organization. Canada's, These are the 6 guardrail categories. Okay, we're going to go through all of them. So when you write your own policy, it's important that you cover them in these 6 categories. Data privacy and security, bias mitigation, explainability, humans in the loop, worker rights, and validation protocols. So data privacy and security. Guardrail number 1 is probably the most important. You've probably read in the news or heard in the news about early adopters of AI technology. Some companies have had their entire systems wiped out. I kid you not. They've had their entire systems be wiped out. What does AI do? It listens to your commands. So commands can be right and commands can be wrong. AI doesn't know. So what you ask for, you're going to get. Anonymize the monitoring data you collect and be explicit in writing about the rare cases where privacy can be overridden and who has the authority to make that call. No confidential data, okay, in public tools. Anything that you put up there, anything that's proprietary to your company is now in public domain. Understand that. Bias mitigation. By using representative training data and audit continuously for disparate income impact across shifts, lines, and groups, okay? It creates a level playing field. And so it really does help to mitigate bias. But review the bias, the accuracy, and the impact. AI is not one and done. It's not you use it and you leave it alone. You constantly have to be taking a look at it, especially as you're learning. Like, treat this as a learning tool. I didn't know that. I say that every single day. Explainability. So guardrail, the explainability, this is the one that most people skip. If your team can't see why AI made the call, they can't sensibly trust or challenge it. 2 terms worth knowing. FAO is the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. You probably know that. Is a UN agency that leads global work on food security and safety. Its 2025 flagship report on AI explicitly calls for explainable models. Okay, you can't train people on what you can't explain yourself. And SHAP, the Shapley Additive Explanations is a widely used technique that shows how much each input factor pushed a prediction one way or another, turning a black box into something a person can audit. In one food safety study, adding that kind of explanation lifted user trust by 28%. And human in the loop. This one is non-negotiable. A qualified person reviews and owns every safety-critical decision. A human does that. AI advises, humans decide. The humans are in control of this. So human accountability remains non-negotiable, and this is where that psychological safety, this is where that emotional intelligence really steps in. Because you have to be confident and comfortable in your own skin with this really, really new stuff and learn about it so as not to fear it. Not to fear it in a bad way. It's good to have a healthy mistrust. You are all into let's validate that information mode. You need to validate what comes out of AI as well. And worker rights. Consult the people who will be monitored before you monitor them. There are some huge companies right now that are facing a lot of backlash because they're using AI to monitor every keystroke, everything that their workers do. And it's really creating havoc in those companies. So consult the people who will be monitored before you monitor them. Give them a real right to challenge an automated decision. If AI comes up with a decision, give them the right to challenge that and commit to retraining individuals rather than replacing. So protecting psychological safety. This is a rework of the slide that you saw earlier. Listen with empathy. This is scary stuff. It's new. Everyone's going to react differently to it, especially in the workplace. Look at all the different generations we have in the workplace. Communicate with respect. Create that psychological safety. That psychological safety is the new word for culture. And drive accountability and growth. So people are coming. I guess I better talk faster. Build a neuroinclusive workflows. That's something that, if you'd like a little bit more of an explanation, call me, because it's really interesting, and I'd love to have a chat with you about that. So validation protocols. Number one, use AI for suggestions, not final determinations. We get to make the final determinations. Validate outputs against evidence. Especially as you're learning, you're developing how you're going to use the AI. Validate, 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 validate. Keep an AI use register. This is really important. Don't think you're going to remember something that happened yesterday. Yes, I know Claude and Chat keep a record of all that stuff, but keep an AI use register. And coach, don't punish. Okay, this is really super new technology. And again, there's a lot of adverse reaction to it, and there's a lot of excitement about it, and both are valid. Okay, so treat both as opportunities to learn and opportunities to train and opportunities to grow, because it is here. It is here, and within the next couple of years, if we don't really adopt it quickly, it's just not possible that Canada was not even asked by the FAO to be part of that study. So, alerts that coach, plain language policy, consult the monitored, and errors are learning. You don't learn by doing things right all the time. And the standards are catching up. We have a lot of work to do as government. We still know that. We are catching up. And the good news is there's a lot of discussion about AI tools and funding to help companies get caught up with AI, especially in the food economy. So your action plan. I have this in documentation. Start with almost no cost. Adopt a three-part test. Write a one-page AI policy. This is the one that gets people every time. We tested this one out. Try writing an AI policy and see what it looks like, right? And run both mini lessons that I've given you. Run them multiple times. Available for everybody. In stage 3, that's after about a year. The whole world is going to change after a year, so I was really careful with this one. Formalize enterprise governance. Engage government funding for SMEs. You probably want to do that in 6 months' time because it's probably going to be available then. And track returning AI legislation because that's happening within the next 6 months. And watch for these signals. Binding Canadian AI law. A recall is traced to over-reliance. That should be a little scary. And your psych safety metrics drop. People are afraid of this stuff. People react differently with it. So pick one thing and do it this week. So write the one-page policy. Practice it. Run one of the mini lessons and schedule the 3-step test. Following up on our previous presenter, AI doesn't keep food safe, people do. We are all excited about the promise, but it's scary too. Be careful with the risk. And keep trusted, equipped, outspoken people at the center. They may not agree with you, they may not like this, that's cool. Healthy skepticism is wonderful. Thank you. I know I ran late.
So full of energy, I love that, and I love the connection with emotional and intelligence. So, at this time, if we have 1 or 2 questions, if not, we can wait for break. Would you like to ask a question now? Sure. 1 question, and then we'll go on a break. Well, sorry, 1 second. We just got the microphone for you.
You guys can always email me or call me as well, because sometimes people don't like asking questions in open room. Feel free, text me anytime. Yes?
Yeah, I'm Wasim from DQS. We do the audits like FSSC, BRC, and so on. So my question is now AI is taking becoming in charge of everything in every stage of company, whether it's a production, monitoring, distribution, in admin, everywhere. So do you think in food safety audits, does the auditor should also be trained on AI and it should be part of the standards?
I came downstairs because I couldn't hear the first part of your question.
So AI is getting into all the production, distribution, monitoring, everywhere, right? In every stage, every sector. So when the food safety audits are done, do you think that the auditor should also be trained because many of the things are done through AI and it should be the part of the standard itself?
Auditors are already being trained. In many countries, auditors are trained and it's being used already. We're lagging far behind that. So depending on what part of the organization is being audited, yes, and companies now should take the step forward, run some of these tests, learn some of this if you don't know it, and run some mini audits on one or two things yourselves. And then expand it as to, okay, let's add, whether it's, let's add one of your other departments in there in the audit and see what happens. Add your suppliers in there and see what happens. Like step into it very carefully, but how far advanced they are with AI, especially in food safety. And that's really cool. So yeah, it's an amazing tool. But again, humans first. Always humans first. People lead the charge in this.
It will be a big takeaway for me to our company that, we should focus on AI to the auditors, whether it's a food or whether it's a quality or health and safety. AI is going to be in every sector.
It's not that you should focus on it. You're going to have to focus on it. So you either do it now, or I guarantee you're going to be behind the 8 ball, and even 2 years from now, because this technology is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. But again, people rule AI. So use it the way you can practically in your organization to start learning. Learn for it on your own. I spend every night doing stuff with AI because every day I say, I didn't know that. And practice with it. It is here. It's been used. It is being used worldwide. Canada needs to get caught up. And you see the government's emphasis now on doing a lot of interprovincial trade, about exporting more to other countries. Those other countries that are using AI and have those standards, we need to get caught up. So that's my lesson. We need to get caught up, number one. Number two is people rule. This is not something that's going to replace people. AI is managed by people. We give it the commands. It's just what we're going to ask it to do.
And speaking of catching up,
Yeah.
let's catch up with each other. Deanna, thank you so much. That was fantastic.